So quickly, so this is the traditional route of how ICOs were done. In fact, in 2017, a lot of companies were just able to raise ICOs with just a white paper or with some pretty faces on their website saying, you know, we are the advisors. So traditionally, it goes around the process of deciding if an ICO is suitable for your business, advisors reach out and onboarding, getting a legal opinion, creating a light paper, white paper, deck for your ICO, private sale or angel investment to develop an MVP. So you should understand that companies were getting into a product stage after they had all that done, creating the product, creating a token, creating the community and buzz, and getting a token out on an exchange. So my personal opinion, that doesn't work anymore. So this is what most companies are doing today, and this is what would work. So even before you reach out to an advisor, you need to have a business. You need to have an MVP. So the earlier speakers today talked, I think from the startup space, clearly said, if you were to go raise an angel investment, you would go talk about, okay, this is what my product is. I've built something, I've got traction. That's the same fundamentals that work today in an ICO environment. You need to have a product. Even advisors, getting advisors on board, they actually verify, okay, who's the team? Do you have a product? Does it solve a real problem? And so after you write your light paper, so the private sale or angel investment is no longer to help you build just an MVP. It's to actually scale your product, get it out to the market. Imagine launching an ICO saying that, okay, I've got 5 million users already using my platform. Does that make sense? So there are companies out there which have already got their products out in the market on multiple app stores with over 5 million users. So my bets on them on reaching the hard cap, pretty high. So this is a typical timeline. So it roughly takes about 3 months from the idea stage to go to an ICO. So it starts with defining an idea, team formation, creating the white paper, creating a website, onboarding the advisors, defining an execution plan, defining a marketing strategy. It's so funny how I come across a lot of companies that don't even have a clear marketing strategy. Now the community is key, especially when you do an ICO. If you don't have an active community, you don't have, you're going to be spending a lot of time just during the ICO phase doing your marketing. The most successful ICOs have actually done their marketing prior to actually launching an ICO. So they have a community of maybe 40,000, 50,000 people on various channels. I think the speaker yesterday spoke about these aspects as well. And if you look at that, after you set up the token sale platform, code audit. This is something of high importance today. So you've heard of stories where, during an ICO, there's been hacks. There have been siphoning of money. There have been a lot of issues where the project is closed down and the backers of the project are no longer to be found. The code is available. It needs to be audited. It needs to have security checks. This is interesting. So if you look at this, of the 100% of companies that have been in the market prior to trading, 81% of them were scams, 6% failed, 5% just simply died. The remaining 8%, of that 8% that actually went on to an exchange for trading, 4.4% were dwindling down because they didn't really have proper tokenomics. They didn't have a real use case for their tokens. 1.8% is promising. Probably their marketing didn't work. Maybe the market fit didn't work. 1.9% were the ones that were actually successful. So we're literally looking at roughly 2% of the entire market. That's going to help, move the space. So what's the opportunity here? The opportunity is the remaining percent, right? How can we actually help the other legit ICOs launch today and raise funds and create the economy? So the future, it's to give control back to the community. It's a decentralized environment. The community needs to have control on how the investment is working out. More regulated ICOs, a few unicorn companies from the space will happen. Delisting of weak and fake tokens from the exchanges, that's happening today. In fact, there are a lot of decentralized exchanges and exchanges coming up today. I think that's the trend. It's great. But exchanges also need to have stringent policies in terms of identifying which tokens to list on their exchanges. So Accubits got into the ICO space and working with cryptocurrencies since 2017, and we got an idea. We just launched a product which happened to be an accidental success. So Coin Factory is one of our self-hosted token generation platforms. It's a milestone-based ICO. What that means is the founders get the money based on reaching certain milestones, contractual milestones. So the community decides and verifies if they have met their milestones, and depending on the vote, the founders are actually given what's worth. We're also building a post-ICO and investor engagement platform so that there's constant communication. It's not radio silence after you raise your ICO. We also have a KPI analysis and success forecasting and self-policing communities. So quickly, Coin Factory has helped over 27 ICOs as of date. We've helped them raise over $340 million. It's SEC and FCA compliant. We support both security and utility tokens. Security tokens are relatively newer. So if you go to the platform, which is icoplatform.tech, today it's supporting only ICOs. We're launching the new website soon in a week, which will support security tokens as well. We have a post-ICO investment management platform. It supports 10 different cryptocurrencies and fiat payment, and supports 4 different blockchains. So literally what this allows any company that wants to do an ICO is to go live within 2 days with all its customizations. So the reason why we wanted to do this is so that we bring control back to the community and have legitimate startups wanting to raise funds, do it the proper way, and give the investors more credibility, investors more trust in the companies that are actually doing an ICO. So that's it from me. So this is Accubits. I'm reachable on shamir@accubits.com. If you have any questions, the floor is open.
Hi, you got a very interesting model there, which I think is really necessary.
Thank you.
But the question would be, if you make it milestone-based, I've been a founder many times, and I've seen many times that I define certain milestones at the beginning of the startup, and then a startup is in a very uncertain environment. So I see many times that the milestones that are defined don't make sense anymore. For example, I'm in a market, the market changes, I have to do a different product. Now I have this milestone set, and then I decide, actually, I shouldn't go for that milestone, I should go for a different milestone. And I might be a really hard-working entrepreneur, I'm not a scammer, but it doesn't make sense for me to achieve that milestone. And the other problem that I see would be, I'm this guy who is really working hard, low salary, and for whatever reason, I'm not able to meet the milestone. So how can you solve these problems on your platform?
So that's a typical startup problem, right? And startups pivot all the time. But that's not a very common thing, especially here, because you've done your due diligence, you've tested the product, and that's when you go and do an ICO, right? So you have some traction in the market, you've done your product validation, and then you're going to launch your ICO. There are still instances where you've done that and you still feel, okay, there's a better market opportunity if I make this tweak or if I make a pivot. That's why we have the post-ICO engagement platform. So the investors and the founders of the ICO project can actually interact, and they can then have a communication and then decide, okay, is this the right strategy? Because at the end of the day, they are your investors, and you need to get a buy-in from them before you make a change. The problem that's happening today is that there is no communication post an ICO. And the founders decide to do whatever they want with the money, literally play around with the money. This way, you're having a communication. The investors are able to get a buy-in, right? They understand what's the reasoning behind making this change or the pivot, and then agree to do whatever change is necessary.
All right, so if I understand correctly, it is possible, if the investors agree, if more than 50% of the investors agree, it's possible to be a bit flexible on the milestones.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. That's all time we have for questions. And give it a round of applause for Shamir.
Thank you.